I sucked at mixing for 8 years in a row until I finally understood those 3 secrets. And I call them secrets, but in reality, those are 3 fundamental principles that I see music producers get wrong all the time. And it took me almost 10 years to understand and master those. So in this video, I'm going to teach you 3 steps to achieving clean, balanced, and professional mix without spending countless hours and getting crappy mixes at the end of the day, without complicated processing, and without overwhelming amount of information. All right, let's start with number 1, ADSR envelope. So imagine your mix as a box. It has a limited amount of space. Say that you added 1 sound. So in this case, we're using a short and plucky envelope. Let's take this bass as an example. So there's still a lot of space we can use for other sounds like leads, for example. There's the lead that we have. So pretty nice, pretty clean. I like that. Now let's make this sound long and sustained. Now there's way less space that we can utilize for other elements like, again, our leads. Now you can see that we completely destroys the groove and it just doesn't sound good at all. To visually represent what is happening right now, we have a very long bass line and very short lead sound. Just because the bass takes so much space in the mix, we cannot put a lot into it. And most of music producers never even touch the envelope when they are using presets or when they are making their own sounds. And this is why your mixes sound weak and amateur. Let's have a look at an example with a long and sustained groove and idea of the track. Listen and try to imagine the shape of the envelope. So we're gonna go step by step. The bass has a long and sustained envelope. And this is the idea of the track that I had. I wanted it to be this way. Didn't want to have a plucky sound, like this like sustained hypnotic kind of sound. The next step is going to be the lead. The lead follows the same structure and pretty much the same notes. So they go together, they support each other. So yes, you can stack similar sounds, but make sure they have the same groove, because if I would have had different notes, I would completely destroy the groove. Since notes are the same, it's cool. You can also hear that I have multiple long sounds that I'm layering on top, sometimes, not always, for a little bit more impact and to make the sound a bit more interesting. But those plucky sounds, they really like add a little bit of punch to the track, because the track is like, it's really soft and it's really like, I don't know how to explain that, but if you look at my body language, I think you can notice that. So once we play all together, you should now understand the principle of picking the envelope for your tracks. Now let's have a look at the next example, which is going to be kick and bass, and this is where most music producers get it wrong. So the tail of the kick is overlapping the bass, or the bass is just way too long so that you don't even have space in your mix for your kick in the first place. So here I made both the kick very long and both the bass very long. And we're now going to listen in the studio environment and have a look at the oscilloscope so you can see the waveform and really hear what is wrong with it. So you can instantly hear that there's no separation. It's like one waveform, and the kick goes into the bass, causing very, very muddy sound. Because again, we got the envelope wrong and we didn't select the right length for the elements. Now let's fix that. Now you can clearly see and hear the separation of the kick and the bass. So make sure you tweak that freaking envelope. A quick tip about the length on the envelope for your kick and the bass. It's either going to be long kick, short bass, or long bass and short kick. So keep that in mind. Now let's summarize this. Apply this concept on all levels for kick, bass, leads, pads, effects. Every sound has weight and takes different amount of space in the mix. Be intentional and think about how much space you have in the mix for the instruments you're planning to add. So ask yourself these questions. What kind of vibe my track has? Plucky and punchy, or short and sustained? So those are two examples that I showed you in the video. Do the envelopes I have work for the groove? And can I tweak my envelope for better groove? Let me give you an example. So originally I had a short and plucky envelope for the main lead sound, which sounds like this. Which is not bad, but if you use this mindset and if you try tweaking that just to see if you can improve the sound, this is what we can get. And it actually benefits the groove, and I really, really like it. Right? Really, really cool. So keep that in mind as well. Here are some additional resources that I recommend you to watch. Make sure you have good sound selection for your track. Otherwise, no matter how you tweak the ADSR, it won't make a difference. So check out those two videos. I teach how to always pick good sounds for your tracks. I created a playlist with all the videos that I recommend to watch. So the link is going to be in the description and in the comments. Okay, tip number 2, simplify your arrangement. Same concept, your mix has a limited amount of space. You have to be intentional when adding sounds. It's easy to overdo and kill main melodic idea with layering and unnecessary instruments. So you want to have some space in your mix for instruments and your groove, right? So the track could breathe, quote unquote. For example, in order to have bright sound in your tracks, you also need to introduce something dark. And in order to have a wide sound, you also need to have narrow sounds. So think about contrast. So silence gives you contrast and adds more power to your mixes. And the way that a lot of people arrange tracks is they just put a lot of sounds, a lot of layering, a lot of stuff into the mix without being intentional and without even thinking, why do I need this? And what role does the instrument play in my mix, right? So without the structure, you are destroying your mixes. And this is why it sounds so amateur. So let me give you an example from the track that I did back in 2022. I love the idea, but it just craves more simplicity. So listen to the transience of the sound, how many accents, how many elements are playing at the same time here. So you can definitely hear that the vocal, the arpeggio, the bass even, they are fighting for the space in the mix, and this is not good. So I added a lot of sounds, but I didn't really think through, did I need them or not? So let's talk about why you need to keep your arrangement simple if you are making club music. Different instruments require specific frequency ranges in the mix. You have to understand the roles and prioritize the space in the mix for them. So if we take the kick and the bass, usually it's going to be from 0 till like 200 approximately. Don't think about the numbers, it's just like the overall mindset. Lead and vocal is going to be in the mids, right? So from 300 to like 2000, and the drums also going to be like from 400, maybe 200 and up to like 10k plus, right? So we can split the mix in those frequency ranges. And the big problem here, beginner music producers tends to overcompensate shitty idea with complex sound design and layering. For example, if your melody doesn't sound good, tweak the rhythm, notes, and sound design until it's good. Otherwise, you're trying to polish a turd. And this is why you're stuck with mixing. This is why you can't finish your tracks, because your ideas in the first place are not good enough. So focus on that. Let me give you some examples with simple arrangement. This track has just one lead sound, add a vocal on top, and this is it. That's the main drop. You don't need to add more. So if you want to add more, always ask yourself, why? Why do I need? And do I actually need more? Another example is this track. It's also extremely simple. I have just one lead sound, a vocal, drums, kick, and bass, and that's it. So I also faced the same problem. I was like, wow, that's way too simple. Let me add more sounds. I started adding, and then I realized that this is going to be good in the club. It doesn't need more. So I challenge you to make simpler arrangements, right? Lead, bass, kick, drums, vocal. Don't add more than that. If you're trying to add, most likely, again, you're trying to compensate for your idea. Let's have a look at another example here. In this case, we have arpeggio, kick, bass, drums, and some fills. Again, sustained arpeggio, bass, and plucky fills. So first solo. Right? Super simple. You don't need to add more. Now we add one little bass on top. Which is also sustained, so it plays with the main groove in the track. And now we add those plucky sounds. I will solo you first. Those are the secondary sounds. Those are plucky. So I am prioritizing the arpeggio in the mix. So everything is built around it. So those sounds are not trying to be another melody. They are just filling the space and adding those little accents to make the main sound a bit more interesting. To summarize, every sound in the track must have a purpose. Kick and bass are the heartbeat of any club track. A pad can add a tonal layer supporting the harmony of the track. A lead can reinforce the main groove and add a melodic layer. Adding sounds without intention are killing your mixes. If you want to learn how to be intentional, how to start and finish a song, and what sounds to add, I recommend watching this video. It's in the playlist in the comments. And also, when arranging, you want to make sure your sounds work for one groove in the track. So instead of masking, your sounds need to reinforce each other. Here's a video that will help you with that. Because otherwise, without understanding the principles and the groove and how the instruments are interacting with each other, you can try arranging, you can try mixing, but they will just compete and fight. So make sure to check out this video as well. And the last tip for today is going to be the volume balance. And here's the big idea. 9 out of 10 mixing problems can be solved with proper volume balance. A lot of producers are putting a ton of processing trying to fix what's already working, taking that you already got good sound selection. So let me show you a couple of examples. So the concept is similar to the arrangement, and overall, the limited amount of space, that's the biggest idea of this video. Balance one instrument wrong, and you are stealing the space from another important sound, right? So let's say that's gonna be kick and bass, and now the whole mix is muddy and unbalanced. Here are two examples of the same tracks, but with wrong and bad balance. So obviously I intentionally did it. Now check out the original one. How much cleaner, more punchy and nicer this sounds. And here's example number 2. And listen to the original. You can hear how much more clarity, punch, and power the original one has, because I leveled the instruments properly. The balance is especially important with the kick and the bass. Low frequencies have the most power in the mix. Wrong balance will eat up the space for other instruments, making them sound weak and undefined. So there will be just no space, and you heard that in those two examples, right? So does it matter what sounds you get wrong? You can have a lead sound fighting with a kick and a bass. You can have a vocal fighting with the drums and so on. So make sure that you allocate space for each instrument type in the spectrum. So here's how I balance my instruments in the mix. I always start with the kick and bass, then we do the drums, then we do the leads, and then we do the vocals. And now I'm gonna walk you through that step by step. I dropped all the sounds till 0, and now we're gonna start balancing. So one thing that I use all the time is I use Realphones as a studio emulation software, because it gives me like sounds that I can trust more than just my headphones. So this is a game changer, right? So let's start with that. And we want to get the kick, let's say, set around -12. I think in this case should be -18. And now we're going to do the bass, right? So I just go by ear. I never look at the numbers. And you want to aim for clean sound. Of course, this is experience, so for me it's easy, but you generally want to go for like a balanced sound. Nothing should jump out of the mix, so I'll show you how. I think we could do minus something like that, and then the last bass. -6. Now let's listen without the studio. Maybe the kick could be -20. And then your goal is to fine tune that, go step by step. Now let's do the claps. And on those speakers, it will be really, really easy for you to hear if something is jumping out. Pretty cool. So with different speakers, I can focus on the bass, on the mids, and so on, right? We can even test that with those. Sibilant. Something like that. Let's do the minimal percussion. and then another minimal percussion. Without. So it could be a little bit more on top. And I still think that the kick is a bit too loud. Yeah, now it's good. So I'm usually aiming for like a very similar balance for both my kick and the bass. Now let's test that real quick. This track is very bass heavy, so always consider the character, right? And then we're gonna do the lead sound. And the vocal. This is obviously a draft mix, like a rough mix and balance, but it's already, you can see that without processing, it's sounding good. I'm gonna illustrate one big problem when you have a bad and wrong balance. Let's say we're gonna do the kick and the bass. The kick here is way too loud, and what I was doing in the past, I would go like, the kick has way too much sub, so let me go and let me remove that sub. Okay, it sounds a little bit better. Remove this, the EQ, and just rebalance that without destroying the sub of the kick. I'm not telling that you should never EQ the sub, but try to get the foundation with the balance right, and then the rest will come natural. So that's gonna be it for this video. So those are 3 foundational secrets or techniques that you can use to get high quality mixes, and you can see even without crazy processing, it sounded great. Like every single track is cool, and I didn't do a lot of mixing. If you enjoyed the video, and if you would like to take your music production skills to the next level, if you would like to work with me, learn A to Z system on producing high quality music fast and efficient, let's have a chat. There's a link down below in the comments. Book a call on my website, and let's see if I can help you with your music. So that's going to be it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I see you in the next video. Ciao.